If you like dad bods, Santa beards, and drinking problems, then it might be that you like dwarves. But if you don't like Law and Order, then it might be that you don't like them. For those of you who want the dad bods and the beards, without the Law and Order, we have Chaos Dwarfs, or the Dawi Tsar, as they're sometimes called. Not like that kind of Tsar. These aren't Russian dwarves. The closest thing we'll get to Russian Dawi are the Squats Kickstarter that we had a few years ago. These are Dawi Tsar. Z-H-A-R-R. Dawi Tsar. Now that we have that out of the way, let's go over everything else. The one thing that all Dawi Tsars seem to have in common is their curly beards. I can't imagine what these guys would look like if they did river dancing. This is one of the easiest ways to distinguish a Dawi from a Dawi Tsar. Another dead giveaway is their arms and armor. Dawi Tsar have evil, chaos-looking arms and armor, but this will only help you if they're not naked. If the dwarf is naked, look for the beards, or the horns. Some, but not all evil dwarves have horns, because they're evil, you see. If you thought regular dwarves were heavily armored, they got nothing on their dark kin. All Chaos Dwarves are outfitted with black shard armor. This is like Chaos armor, but with fire resistance. Now on to the roster! I'll be going by the last army roster these guys had from a book called Tarmakin Throne of Chaos. The only legendary lord they had was Drashoath the Ashen, Prophet of Hashut. This guy's decent enough in combat and a potent caster, very much like a Chaos Sorcerer, but shorter. But to make up for his vertical shortcomings, he rides a giant ill-tempered bull called the Baal Taurus. Like every legendary lord, this guy's decked out with enough magic items to level any army we can field in the real world. His Hellshard amulet grants him a ward save. In addition, whenever he stops damage from coming in, it inflicts damage to those who attacked him. His Demon Spike Crucible, a crucible is a bowl. So the Demon Bowl of Cornflakes makes his casting more powerful. If he manages to kill any wizard, it absorbs their soul and makes his casting even more powerful. I can't wait to see how they incorporate this part into the game. His last magic item, the Graven Scepter, because what is a king without a scepter? He has a 50% chance of wounding no matter the toughness of the target. This will likely just have a bonus of a large melee attack and rip through armor, but I'd love to see some original stats for this stick. The lords available to the Dawi Tsar is limited to one, the Sorceress Prophet. These bad boys are just like their king, stunty casters. Possibly the coolest unique thing these guys have is whenever they suffer damage from overcasting, their curse takes a little bit more hold and they slowly turn to stone. And I don't mean the good kind of stoned either. Eventually, they turn into a stone statue, like from Doctor Who. The available mounts these guys have are the Baal Taurus, the Great Taurus, which isn't as great as being Baal apparently since they're weaker, but they can also ride a Lamassu, which looks like a Babylonian dwarf statue, a winged bull with a dwarf face, curly bouncy beard and all. I feel it likely they'll incorporate more legendary lords, because having just one option is pretty boring. They aren't so short in the hero department though. Demon Smiths are weaker versions of the Sorcerer's Prophets, without the options for a mount. So if you aren't where you need to be when you cast a spell, it'll likely be too late by the time you get there. Chaos Dwarfs are natural sprinters, very dangerous across short distances. Infernal Castellans are extra stubborn, more so than regular dwarves. If you need a tanky guy who also dishes out damage, this is the one that you want. It's the equivalent to a Chaos Exalted hero, except shorter. Is there too many short jokes in here? I have like 4 subscribers, so I don't think I'm going to disappoint too many people. A Bull Centaur Tarek, a personal favorite for me. I hope this guy's going to be a lord. He looks like a dwarf mated with a bull. So that they're usually a little bit slower than most cavalry, but they're super tanky. Currently, there's not much monstrous cavalry in the game, but these guys are going to have some good holding power, a decent charge bonus, but I think their mass is what's going to make them great. They should be able to push everyone around like how I push my nephews around at family reunions. Cool fact about the bull centaurs is the older they get, the harder their skin becomes, till it becomes hard as stone. Another interesting fact, which hopefully they don't put into the game, is they can't heal naturally, only through magical means. The last hero option we have is a Hobgoblin Khan. That's right, the dwarves have greenskins working for them. And if the Ogre Kingdoms won't be enough Mongol for you, then we have little green guys too. These boys will likely have the assassinate and assault skills, being super sneaky little gits. Their mount options are limited to a wolf, which makes them scary for war machine hunting, and, well, that's really about it. Now on to the units! Their Infernal Guard will have several variants. They'll likely have the hand weapon and shield kind, who are great at holding the line. They'll also likely have a bonus versus charge. The There's another one that carries great weapons, who are the choppy kind that take you to victory. Each of these should be on par with dwarf longbeards. Now for some unique guys. The Fireglaive Infernal Guard. The Fireglaives operate like halberds, but they can also shoot fire. They'll have a medium range, but they hit pretty hard. These guys should also have a bonus versus large, which will make them very annoying to cav units. And finally, one weapon I can't wait to use, the Hailshot Blunderbuss. These guys were designed to down hordes of greenskins. They should be short range, have low armor piercing, but deal massive damage to low armored units. On the tabletop, these guys wreck. Hobgoblin Cutthroats. These guys are sneaky and might gain the stalk ability. They should be a lot like the sneaky Skulkers, but have a bow variant as well. The big difference between goblins and hobgoblins is hobgoblins are slightly tougher and can almost go toe-to-toe with Empire infantry. All greenskins hate hobgoblins because they betrayed the orcs and goblins to the Chaos Dwarfs. Instead of helping fight for freedom from the Chaos Dwarfs, they backstab their kin and turn them in. Instead of risking everything for freedom, they'd rather be at the top of the slave pecking order. Hobgoblin Wolf Raiders. They're like the greenskins Wolf Riders, but marginally better in combat. They're essentially kids on big dogs. There's not a whole lot to them. Next in line, we have the Infernal Ironsworn. These tough little buggers can go toe-to-toe with Chosen. They can take a hard hit and hit back even harder. They'll likely have magical attacks on top of it, and will come in two variants, one with shields and the other with great weapons. The Bull Centaur Renders. They're just like the hero I mentioned earlier, but less heroic. They'll have a variety of weapons to choose from. Shields, spears, great weapons, and additional hand weapons. But it's unlikely that we'll have all these selections. This ain't to build a Dawi. Kadai Fireborn. I think there's about every unit in the game, but I especially mean it for these guys. I can't wait to see them. Their animations are going to be awesome. These guys are large fire elementals. They give you more of an intense burning sensation than gonorrhea. Not that I know anything about that. In the tabletop, these guys burn so hot, everyone near them burns too. Since they're made of demon fire, they'll likely be immune to fire damage. They may also have ward saves and physical resistance as shown on the tabletop, but how this will be implemented remains to be seen. If you watch this after the game comes out, then it's already been seen. These guys have magical energy so powerful that they have a hard time existing in the world. To represent this, they might take damage slowly over time as crumbling undead or summoned units, or perhaps this will happen when the sorcerer dies to show that there's no one there to control them anymore. Kadai Destroyers are a more powerful version of the Kadai Fireborn. They often take the form of a bull or bull-like creature in the tabletop, and I expect a bull or minotaur type monster for the total Warhammer. These guys are honestly one of the toughest monsters in the game, and they're like an army in a single unit. They're hotter than your butthole after a night at a hot wing challenge, and all I'm saying is fighting them might be a regret. The Chaos Siege Giants. Unfortunately, I think they might just lazily put normal giants into the game instead. But it's possible I'm wrong. They have impressed me before and brought unexpected Forge World units. These are similar to regular giants, but a little bigger, a little meaner, and heavily armored and equipped with actual weapons. They're terrifying for our infantry and monsters to deal with. They did have a couple of unique things about them, which I hope they incorporate in the game. They can attack structures and walls. How awesome would it be to have a unit go up to a wall and just smash its way through? Right now, the only way you can make a hole in the wall is if you bombard it for a long time with a siege weapon. Another thing I hope they put into the game, but seems unlikely, is the scaling spikes. The dwarfs cover their armor in so many spikes that they can be climbed like a ladder, and if a giant dies and falls on top of a wall or structure, it is now essentially a siege tower. Unlikely this cool tool will make it into the game, but I think it's still worth mentioning. Now we are down to just artillery. If you thought regular Dawi had powerful siege equipment, you ain't seen the power of these boys. Let's start off with one of the ones that you've already seen, the Hell Cannon. It shoots poor unfortunate souls at its targets and ruins whatever it manages to hit. As of the making of this video, it is the only Chaos Dawi that we currently have in the game. The Magma Cannon, which is pretty much just a reskin of the Dwarf Flame Cannon. It's almost never used for dwarfs because it takes forever to tech up to, and once you use it, it really isn't that great. It has its uses, but there's better stuff out there for less gold and less upkeep. The Death Shrieker rocket launcher. Just like it sounds, little ones. It launches rockets, and you hear the shrieks of death. I love simply named things. It has 2 different shots that it can do. Its standard Death Shrieker rocket, which explodes and does a large amount of damage over an area, much like a mortar. But they also have the Demolition rocket, which kills monsters better than a harpoon kills whales. Massive damage to a single target or small area. Might be they'll go the dumb route and have these as 2 separate units, but more likely they'll go the smart route and have it as 1 unit with changeable ammo, like the Elf Repeater Bolt Thrower. One of my personal favorites, the one that will inspire the most fear into your enemies, the Dreadquake Mortar. This thing hits harder than a shot of tequila on a chihuahua. It's slow to fire, often needing an ogre to load it effectively. When it hits, it obliterates whatever it hits. The only stronger piece of artillery is a Skaven nuke. When this thing hits, it destroys the ground, making it difficult to walk on. Units being hit, or maybe even units nearby, should have their movement temporarily reduced to show the struggle of moving through the uneven ground. And last but not least, what some people say is the best war machine in the game, the Pain Train, also known as the Iron Demon War Engine. This is like an Empire steam tank with a few exceptions. It doesn't have a cannon, but instead it has steam guns that shoot shrapnel in front of it, ripping apart light infantry, similar to how Taco Bell farts rip apart my pants. This beastly tank runs over units with little effort and can grind down anything smaller than it. There's an upgraded version called the Skullcracker. It doesn't have the shrapnel cannon, instead it's extra mean about ripping apart anything that gets close to it. It's the war version of a meat grinder, but also grinds up your clothes, armor, and the dreams about making it home safely. One of the coolest aspects of the train engine is on the tabletop, it acts like a locomotive. You can hook up any other war machine mentioned earlier and tow them around the battlefield. Might be handy like a war wagon, but more heavy duty and a little slower. These are the basic things we can expect to see from the Chaos Dwarfs when they drop for Warhammer 3. These guys will be an absolute powerhouse with few weaknesses. If you guys like this, I'll do a video about their magic and their lore too. Is there anything I forgot to mention that you would look forward to seeing from the Dawizar? Say something in the comments below. Anyways, I'm off to work now because YouTube doesn't pay my bills.